guys, on this episode of R&D Garage, I'm going to walk you through a little bit of upholstery for the Mini, but we'll get to that in a bit. I am super excited to announce that I have a new sponsor, OG Racing. They are the best when it comes to safety equipment. They supply fire suits, helmets, shoes, gloves, belts, harnesses, anything you can think of pertaining to safety. They're the company to go to. So thank you, OG Racing, and I can't wait to be the world's best ambassador for you guys. Okay, now let's go over to the upholstery part. So remember when I said if your car stands for a while or you haven't worked on it in a bit and you have a similar car that maybe uses the same motor or parts and you start using it as a pick and pull? Yeah, that's basically what was happening to the Mini. So a while back we needed like an oil pressure gauge, and so we plucked it from the Mini and put it in the Civic, which it's not in there anymore. But while we had yanked out the dash, we noticed, there's certain things we could fix. Some of the upholstery was a little bit maybe peeling. It didn't look that great. And the wiring, you can imagine, looked even worse. So we fixed some of the wiring, and now I'm going to show you a little bit how to upholster. Okay, so you'll see we have quite the conglomerate going on right here. And yes, this is 3 different styles. This one is homemade, and I'll talk about it in a second. First, I want to talk about the padded dash. Now, normally there would be an ashtray right here and defroster vents here and here. Now, this is a bare bones Mini, and none of this would, I mean, obviously we're never going to, me and Dee don't smoke, so we're not going to use the ashtray. And honestly, if it won't defrost, just roll down the damn window. So what we did was actually shave them down, just like you would shave a door handle or something like that. Filled it with plenty of foam, scraped it down, same with where the ashtray used to be, and we're good to go. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the padded knee. This is what's known as safety back in the 1960s. Fantastic. This was, okay, how can I explain this? So this was kind of on the lower side, like, right by your knees, which is why they call it the padded knee. So apparently this was supposed to stop your knees from breaking. I don't think it really helped much. So as you can see, we're deep in the Bondo phrase right now. Phase, not phrase. So, okay, let's stop right there, and I'm going to talk about that next. Okay, now I'm going to talk about this homemade dash. So most Minis, especially the bare bones ones, which they're all pretty much bare bone, they only had like maybe a big circle with, the odometer, and pretty much everything was attached to that, the gas gauge and whatever else you needed. We wanted something a little bit more conventional, and so we went ahead and made this out of wood. So you can see from the front, it looks just like a dash, and from the back, you can see where we did all the fresh wiring, and with the screws, this is where it fits in. And so it actually, once it was covered with vinyl, it looked pretty darn good. And so I'm kind of proud of this. But what I also wanted to say was, it doesn't take much to make something look good, especially in an older car like a Mini. And so the next time maybe you can't find a dash or something like that out of a pick and pull, or parts, because parts for this, Mini, you can imagine, aren't that great to find. Think about trying to make it yourself. A little DIY never hurt anybody. Well, I mean, like, don't DIY like plumbing, that kind of stuff, because that could hurt. But stuff like this, why not? So when I say it's totally okay to vinyl your own dash pads, it really depends on what kind of dash you're working with. Now, most older domestics, especially Mustangs, maybe Camaros, they have like a bonded vinyl. And so if that cracks, you'll notice it starts to bow, and it's really hard to repair those. And luckily, I think parts are a little bit easier to find for those. So those, yeah, I went DIY. But this is more of a hard foam, hard, firm foam. And so you'll see there's like no cracks. Putting vinyl on this, as long as you get it smooth underneath, go for it. You're not going to mess it up. So yeah, that's kind of my take on that. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Great, I can finally use my spray adhesive I've had in the, on the counter since 1995. Yeah, unfortunately, no. I don't recommend this much more than for carpets. They're great for carpets, gluing it down. We've tried on some of the dash pads, and after a while, it just lifts off. It's not it's not good. So unfortunately, you do not get to use the spray adhesive on this job. You want to use something a little bit more commercial, like this guy here, contact adhesive, which pretty much guarantees all the heater sources are off and the doors are open. Couple rules when you're choosing your vinyl for your dash. Okay, number one, basically buy in bulk, because you don't know if the same vinyl you picked out is going to be there. Even maybe the next day you go back and you're like, man, I want some more of that. Maybe someone came in after you and bought up the rest of the store. Plus you want it to match. So yes, and again, always buy enough to do the job twice, maybe even 3 times, because maybe once it's done, maybe I hate to turn my back on my sisterhood, but yes, sometimes we women are guilty of scraping, getting in with the car with our purse, scraping it down, or maybe some of your guy friends, they're a little tall, a little bulky, and they accidentally kick something. Now you have a piece to fix that's left over. When buying your vinyl, you want it automotive quality. Yes, the thinner stuff is a lot easier to kind of handle and mold and everything, but when it's thicker like this and it's UV resistant, the dash is kind of like your hands. They're always in the sun and you want to protect them. And if you don't get UV quality, it's going to crack. Don't look at my hands. So basically what I'm trying to say here is do not skimp on this project. If you're going to do it yourself, you really only want to do it maybe once every few years, guaranteeing or seeing how long you're going to, have the car in your possession. You don't want to do this really more than a couple of times. So go ahead, buy the good stuff. So getting back to this knee part, you may have noticed there's Bondo on it. Now, I normally am not a fan of Bondo. It's one thing if it's your family car and, maybe it got smushed a little bit, then yes, I can see topping it off with some Bondo just to make it all better again. Well, with this, many parts are still very rare to find in the US, and shipping something like this from overseas would cost a fortune because of the big box and everything. And so what had happened here was, this is a thin piece and basically it ripped. And so we put it together with toothpicks to to reinforce it, and then slathered it with Bondo, but we're gonna keep shaving it down and so that it's nice and neat again, and then go ahead and recover it. So that's the story, or the answer to the question of, why do you have Bondo on that thing? Hey, it's for safety, knees first. So you'll notice, since this is a nice flat panel, this part here is going to be super easy to put on, which I'm excited about. So yeah, so that looks great. Now, what you're thinking is, man, that'd be so awesome to spray that glue. And yes, you could actually use a spray adhesive, or actually put this into your little spray gun thing. But if you don't have one of those and you don't have the means to buy one, get the best artificial brush you can afford to basically brush on the glue. You don't want the cheap balsa wood ones, because the hair, the fibers will stick to the glue, stick to this, and then as soon as you're done and you lay it on, you're gonna have lumps and bumps everywhere. If that's the look you're going for, hey man, more power to you. But I don't know, I think you just want like a nice smooth look, like it's how it's supposed to be. Okay, so a couple things. We're not actually going to film me doing the whole vinyling process. We'll maybe take a couple stills here and there, but it's really a 2-person job, and it also comes down to the glue we're using. This has more warnings than you can even imagine. You've seen like the pizza box, open box before eating pizza. If you're the type of person where you don't know that, you should definitely not be using this glue. But anyway, this is just super caustic. It says turn off the main gas valve, do not have a heater around, do not use it near your water heater if you have like a pilot light, because everything will go kaboom. And most importantly, do not use this at your residence. Try to find a space, maybe in a friend's warehouse, automotive shop, or send it out, maybe even better, because it just sounds like this could pretty much ruin your life and explode everything in it. So maybe same difference. Don't do it. It's like meth, not even once. And also, when you do use it, use a respirator. You do not want to breathe in this crap. Okay, so right now it's about 60 degrees in the warehouse here. And so the vinyl is cool. This is unfortunately not what you want in your vinyl when you go to wrap something. You want it hot, nice, and pliable. And that just doesn't really gel with the glue we're using, because especially if you use a heater gun, you know, it has a red hot unit inside it. And so, you know, you spray the glue and it's like, oh, hey, yeah, welcome to your next life. And so best case scenario, do this on a warm summer day, because while you're preparing everything, you can use the vinyl or take the vinyl you're going to use, lay it on maybe one of your car roofs, that kind of thing. It'll be nice and warm from the sun and it'll be perfect. And again, this is where the second person comes in. So when you grasp one end, they grasp the other, and then there's no wrinkles and it's ready to go in place. So remember, you want this vinyl as smooth as you can get it. And that means it's good to use a little cloth glove, because once the vinyl is hot, you will leave fingerprints, you will leave potentially like palm prints. And so this way, using mostly the palm of your hand, you can get it nice and smooth and there'll be no fingerprints. It'll be absolutely perfect. Gloves. Okay, 3 last things. So you notice this is contact adhesive. What that means is you're going to be spreading it on the back of the vinyl, and you're going to be spreading it on the actual dash itself. And when those two come into contact, boom, it is glued. And if it's not in the right position, you're screwed. That rhymed. Okay, so what you want to do is make sure you have it in exactly the right position you want. Got to plan everything out first. One person goes like this, and then the next person is stretching again to put it into place. Much like doing like a library, like on the Spoon Sports. I helped Dee a lot with that. Yeah, we're not going to go there right now. Okay, also clips are good to use. Now, it may be a little bit hard on this guy, on the dash, because there aren't really places that are conducive to using clips. You do not obviously want to clip the vinyl onto the end of it, because it's going to show a mark. You know, it'll be worse than like fingerprints. But on this, it'd be kind of easy to like, you know, shove it right there. So if like the vinyl part is right there, they're not going to see it anyway, and then you can hold it down. Okay, the last thing I was going to talk about, oh yes, follow the directions. Before you install it back in your dash, I know if you're anything like me, you're excited to get the car going for summer, you want it done. Follow all the directions and how long it says. Pay attention to how long they say it cures, like the glue dries. Because if you put it into the car before it's ready, you could get some maybe wrinkles. You know, you're putting it in there, you're using your hands, obviously, maybe without gloves, and you get a smudge. And then you're like, crap, I gotta do it all over again. So don't do that. So that about wraps up this video for today. Like I said, we'll give you some pictures. Maybe I'll make a little reel out of doing it, just like, you know, little stills here and there. But for the most part, I can't wait to show you what it's going to look like when it's done. I'm hoping to premiere the car at the Vault show end of this month. I think it's the 26th or the 27th. I'll let you guys know in case you're interested in going. But yeah, so if we don't fall into a pothole on the way to the Golden Gate Fields, you will see the Mini. Cross my heart. Take care, guys. And again, thank you OG Racing for being my new sponsor.